Welcome back to my channel, everyone. My name is Yeagerist, and today I'm going to be talking about the last part of my name, Yeagerist. Now, this gentleman and Brown's Magic wanted me to make a video about why I am a Yeagerist, but also any defender. And so today we're talking about why Yeagerism. Is that the proper word to use? Maybe I should be saying patriotism, Yeagerism, whatever you want to say. And the like in the ending are not mutually exclusive. And I think that, and I do believe that every person should be an ending defender. So it's not like, well, the reason why I say this is I'm saying, like, okay, like if you are a Democrat, you shouldn't be happy in 2016, and if you're a Republican, you shouldn't be happy in 2020, right? So it all depends on your opinion. So if you're a Democrat, I would say, well, you should be mad about 2016, right? But if you're a Yeagerist, I'm saying it doesn't matter what your political philosophy is. Then it was still good. Like, okay, there's criticism to be said there. I'm not saying the ending was perfect. However, I still think you should be an ending defender. And I think that most of the things that people say about the ending is utter garbage. So today we're going to dive into that, particularly with Yeagerism. Okay, so what is Yeagerism? I think that's what we're going to ask ourselves. What is Yeagerism? Well, Yeagerism is simply a political philosophy of what some people would call ultra-nationalism versus simply nationalism. I would like to call it patriotism, but I mean, you can call it whatever you want to. And it essentially prioritizes one's nation over and above the rest of the world, especially when the rest of the world doesn't like you. Okay? And it's about specifically rejecting the idea that one should strive for the greater good. That is what Yeagerism is about. It's about rejecting an idea. Rejecting an idea and saying, my country, well, in my case, my family, but my country and my family who's in my country is more important than the rest of the world. So, in War for Parity, there's this back and forth between the alliance, well, not the alliance, but between members of the now disbanded Soviet Corps. And I say now disbanded because the Soviet Corps basically already accomplished their mission, and they weren't really working on anything else besides trying to negotiate peace. So I say now disbanded for that reason, if you're wondering. So they were trying to figure out what to do, right? And there was a group of people that were thinking, we just need to attack these people and stomp them out. There was another side that was disagreeing, and they weren't disagreeing because they disputed the premise of what they were saying. However, what they foolishly, I would say foolish, but they foolishly hid from everybody until the very end, until it was way too late, but they weren't actually concerned. That's inappropriate to use. Not concerned. They weren't entirely honest in how they were viewing the situation. The Yeagerists view the situation as, we have to protect our country at all costs. And the other thing that's key to Yeagerism is that it's guaranteed. It has to be guaranteed safety. That's the thing about Yeagerism. So it has to be guaranteed. The alliance will not form. Well, while not formed yet, the alliance, for sake of simplicity, was thinking, we need to do what's best for the entire world. They're called altruists. I think it's kind of a flatter term to use for them, but we'll choose the term altruist for now. They're altruists. They want the best for most people. So they were foolishly hiding their intentions from the Yeagerists, and they were trying to synthesize their altruism with the Yeagerism, which cannot connect, cannot correlate, especially after the Boucherman started. After the declaration of war. After that, the deal was pretty much sealed. There was gonna be rumble was what's gonna have to happen. And I was debating with Rob about this. Racer AOT, not AOE, Racer AOT. And he fucked something today. He said, well, Aaron, he manipulated the situation to make it so the rumble was the only option. And I said, yes. So if he manipulated the situation to where the rumbling was the only option, that means that the rumbling was the only option then, right? I mean, that's That's kind of what these people, what the alliance thinks, right? And he's expecting me as a Yeager to say, no, you're wrong. Everyone's trying to fight for his country. But no, I can think for myself. No, so he did. So Grim was the only option. I was talking to other people about this who haven't watched the show, and I was saying, yeah, every nation's a bone to pick with Eren because he killed their leaders in the military general. I was like, wait a second. And in that moment, before watching Vader's video, I thought, when I say Vader's video, I'm referring to Do Not Defend the Rumbling, or The Rumbling's Indefensible. I think that's the title of it. This is the newest video. It's a good video. You should go check it out. But I was like, maybe that wasn't the wisest of decisions to attack everyone in the world, because he could have easily, tried to at least broker peace between some nations. Now, again, when I say I'm a Yeagerist, I'm talking about post 100. Right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about the Declaration of War. I'm talking about post chapter 100, which is I think where the Declaration of War happens. That's what I'm a Yeagerist, right? Because before that, right, peace could still be achieved. Think about like go back to, I think it was 2018 when Qasem Soleimani died, right? So Qasem Soleimani was an Iranian general, right? For those who don't know, it's like Iranian general is like a top tier guy, one of the highest ranking people in the Iranian military / government, right? It'd be like the head of the CIA, right? So the United States, again, remember the context. The United States is the most powerful country in the world. By far, the world's superpower, kills this Iranian guy. Iran doesn't even have nuclear weapons, for goodness sake. That's how low tier they are as far as military power goes. So we kill Qasem Soleimani. One guy, Qasem Soleimani. And everyone, well not everyone, but most people were afraid. They were saying, oh, it's going to start World War III, this is bad, this is a disaster, this is going to escalate tensions, blah, blah, blah. Now, in the immediate sense, and I say immediate as in a day or two, because the plane got shot down later, and I'm not going to get into a giant conversation about that, but Iran didn't really attack the United States, okay? But people were still, I guess you could say, reasonably concerned about the prospect of an escalation of tensions. So that was the United States, and that was one guy. Now imagine a much smaller country, parity, who does not have the military capability that the United States has. Didn't just kill one general; they kill their leaders, their presidents, their kings, a bunch of military leaders, and then a bunch of their civilians in Harley, right? How much of an escalation of tension that was is I think irresponsible. So that is why I'm saying post 100. Okay. So post 100, just get that away. Post 100, post the Declaration of War, I'm a Yeagerist. Why? Well, it's very simple. The entire world is against them, as I just stated. They're looking for blood. And the other thing is that I was saying this so many times during the Prosperity arc. Only Eren and Zeke have any authority to make this decision about whether to do the Rumble or not. Because only Eren and Zeke, particularly Zeke, knows about the real world. The people in Parody, Armin and Hanji and the rest of them, they don't know anything about anything. 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, however long it was, I think it was 5 years ago, they didn't even know other people existed outside the walls. Zeke knew the entire time, right? And I say Eren because Eren hung out in Marley for a while. Zeke knew the entire time. He knew, and I remember this panel. He said, he said to Levi, you're running out of time. And soon the entire world armies are going to be landing here. And you have no idea what that is like. And he's right. He's right. You guys are 100 years in the past. Imagine someone from the 1920s. Okay, which is actually around their time. Imagine the 1920s talking about what they're going to do with us as their enemy. Because again, Marley's the superpower. It's the sole superpower, right? They have an entire continent. So imagine America is pissed off at a country that's 100 years behind everyone else. Who the hell gets to debate that? Only people who know who and what America is. And again, they would have no freaking clue. They don't know what an F-16 is. They don't know what a B-21 Raider is. They don't know any of that. They know they're barely off the ground, for goodness sakes. And parody didn't even have an air force. They don't have an air force. So I thought it was extremely foolish. And again, Pixie said it too. I thought it was extremely foolish for the Alliance to be walking around acting like they knew how to make geopolitical decisions. And that, you know, that sort of segues to my next point, which is the fact that they're 100 years behind everyone else. And not only, even if they're throwing off neutral, you're still open to oppression because you're 100 years behind everyone. You're weaker than everyone. You can go back in world history for as long as you want to, and you know, for as long as you want to. Weaker countries get taken advantage of by stronger countries, and it happens to this day. You know, and a more modern example, not too modern, a more modern example would be India and Pakistan, by the United Kingdom, right? So that's a good example of that. And again, this happens to this day. So even in the India and Pakistan did nothing to the United Kingdom. So even at a neutral standpoint, parity is open to oppression. Now, does that mean that you really kill 800 million people to 1 billion people? No, I'm not saying that. However, they were not staying on neutral ground. They started off by, again, remember, Eldia, I don't want to say Eldia started this war, but Eldia escalated tensions massively. Eldia had an entire continent. So Eldia already pillaged, raped, and killed everyone in that continent. Well, not everyone, but you know what I mean. They were absolute terrorists and absolute savages to those people, to Marley. So they're not on equal footing. They're not on neutral footing. And on top of that, Aaron went and they killed all their generals and presidents. Right there. And on top of that, again, the fear aspect. And I always say, you know, Marley, like I don't think Marley is as bad as people think that Marley is. They have the rumbling, and you know, Hanji said it. Hanji said that not Hanji, another military general in Marley. They said that they cannot stop the rumbling. There's nothing they're able to do to stop the rumbling at that point in time. Rumbling is an extremely powerful weapon of mass and indiscriminate destruction, and for that weapon just be hanging on parity, just be chilling on parity, without any real sort of protection from it, is terrifying to people. And again, I know you're saying, well, Luga, Marley, they knew it, King Fritz, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I don't care about King Fritz. You know what? You know why I don't care about King Fritz? Because here's why. The entire story from literally from start to finish. From chapter 1 to chapter 139. Maybe not 139, but pretty much start to finish. It was about espionage. I think it was about espionage. And Marley, how did Marley come to power? How? Through espionage. Through espionage. So they're saying, well, we were in a weaker position. We were able to use sly and underhand tactics and sneak in and infiltrate and all this other stuff to get the upper hand over Eldia. What are we to think that Eldia won't do the exact same thing and get a hold of the founder again? I completely understand them wanting to have the founder again. I totally understand that. And if you are Marley and Citizen, you are full of crap if you're telling me that you are perfectly fine with another country right across from you, as in like Cuba from Florida, and wink wink, having an extremely powerful and unstoppable weapon that could at any point fall into the hands of Aaron Yeager. And in the hands of Aaron Yeager, it fell. And you know, many people died because of it. But we're gonna get a bit ahead of myself. So my point in saying all this is that simply that the fear, the justified fear, is another reason why the world would want to attack Eldia. So to recap, they're 100 years behind everyone else, right? They killed and provoked pretty much everyone in the world, and everyone in the world justifiably or reasonably fears them. And let's go on to number 4. They're trying to have peace talks. And the peace talks went absolutely nowhere. Right? And to the point where they're like, okay, We will acknowledge the humanity of aliens, but those island devils, that's a completely other question. We need to exterminate those people, right? At which point, Aaron walks out of the foot. But that signals to me, okay, we tried. Now, as a Yeagerist, did we try everything? No, I think there's more things that could have been tried. But at this point, after all we've all seen, and again, it's happened before with Type 100, remember that happened before Type 100. I think it is almost irreconcilable to not take a drastic action. And again, the fifth point, which is sort of like the third point, I'd say, but when everyone keeps bringing it up over and over again, I'm sorry, Lion's going to have to hear it again, the rise of nationalism in defeated countries. And, it's a valid point. Aaron goes, he takes out Marley's ships in Type 100, right? Or in Type 100. Marley comes back later with the full-on invasion, right? In order to secure safety, you have to fully defeat them. And no, I'm not advocating for 100% wrong, by the way. You have to fully defeat your enemy. They did a really good blow. They destroyed the warship. That's a really good blow. But they needed to go further than that. And the people who had the knowledge and the technology, I would say knowledge is a military knowledge, and technology that was greater than Eldia would come back after they reorganized the military. It's an example I gave to Ra, right? Raise your team when I was debating him. I said, if I was fighting my someone who's older than me, bigger than me, right? I couldn't knock him out. In which case, I'd be sleeping and then yell, I'd be safe until he wakes up again, gets reoriented, and then comes after me. I said, I want to break his leg so that he cannot then attack me again. Right? That's the analogy I get to Ra. So, we have just to figure out what breaking someone's leg is and what a knockout punch is. And so, especially bring emotions into it. If this is an analogy people keep bringing up all the time, some kids, these are home destroyed, they're gonna go, rise to power, and come back. Right? That's the thing that people want to say. Parody has to be able to eclipse Marley's power and everyone else's power before that can happen. If that is not done, then Parody is in a precarious situation because they've already provoked people, they've already killed people, they already have people's emotions running high, they already took loved ones to people. So now, in order to shield yourself from the cycle of violence, you also have more power than that person. Okay? So, that's why I'm a Yeagerist, right? Now, why am I an ending defender? And why does the ending not make me angry? Right? Okay. Now, number one. Now, the biggest difference between me and most ending defenders is that I prioritize. Well, I don't have a wife, but if I had a wife, I would prioritize her over literally everything else, except for God, obviously. But among the human beings, it would be my wife. Okay? I think if it's between wife and country, your wife wins every single time. Yeagerists think that being in love with a woman is somehow weakness, it's bad, you shouldn't like women. But when I saw at Aaron, I didn't Aaron actually care about Mikasa more than his country. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I actually thought Aaron's a great character. It's awesome. I actually thought this thing. It's a great character. However, I wish he would have loved his, his family more. I wish he would have had that aspect of failing inside of him. He does. He does. Not perfectly, not in a good way. But he still has that as part of him. And the other thing is that people say, well, he changed his goals. I don't think he changed his goals. Because, again, Aaron want freedom. And he got freedom on 39. Now, I'm not going to get into this because it's going to be way too long. But basically, he learned, contentment, right? As I said beforehand, just to quickly summarize it, Aaron literally said in season 1, whoever saw the ocean, again, I'm paraphrasing, whoever saw the ocean would be the freest person in the world. He saw the ocean, he wasn't free, right? He's constantly trying to become free, but he's always failing every single time. The rumbling, he thought would bring him freedom. It would not bring him freedom. It would not bring him freedom. Which again, you ask, well, why are you Yeagerist this won't bring him freedom? It will bring national security. It was his personal freedom he was trying to accomplish. And again, I think if 138 actually happened, I think that's the ideal ending for him. 138. That's what I would do. I would 100% abandon my entire country and I would live with my wife peacefully. That's 100% what I would do. And he seemed happy in 138, and he should be happy because he's with his wife, presumably, he's with his wife, and they're happy, having a good time. That's what you need in that life. So Aaron was trying to have too much, and he didn't learn it until the very, very end, right? And that is why I say, like Aaron did have freedom, and Aaron's character wasn't contradicted. Now, for the last part, which is the irreconcilable sin, the unpardonable sin between Yeagerist and the ending, the fact that Aaron only went 80%. He should have done 100%. And I simply posture the question, what would have an extra 20% have gotten you? And I've had extended debates with people about this. I've had extended debates with people about this. Unfortunately for you, I am only doing moderate debates from now on. I find them to be much more quicker, much efficient, and much better. So if you want to debate me on this, you are more than welcome to. My Discord is in the description. My Twitter is also there. Message me, and I will set up a time for us to debate. However, I think that 80% was great. I think, and Aaron said himself, the world won't be able to retaliate immediately, but they won't be able to retaliate. He killed like around 1 billion people. I don't know what more he wanted. Like, okay, let's bring us to Japan for a second. The atomic bomb. The atomic bombs, they didn't even kill 1 million people. But that was enough to drive Japan to her knees. So, again, I know there's a bunch of different variables, I know there's a bunch of different stuff, but consider for a second the fact that we did not have to kill every single person in Japan in order to drive them to their knees. And again, in order to say, well, Beluga, the United States is on the same playing field as Japan. I know that. It's different. I know that. But I'm saying, consider for a second the fact that you don't have to kill literally everyone in the country in order to be safe. People are saying, well, if there's a Marlian left, I have literally had debates with people, and this is recorded too. People say, well, there's a Marlian, not Marlians, a Marlian left over, they will come and destroy parity. I'm like, they will come and destroy parity. What are you even talking about? They'll come and destroy parity. Parity is going to be like 300-400 years ahead of them by that point. Okay, so we only need, among other things, but the 2 atomic weapons is what drove them to their knees. Okay, so, and there was millions of people left in Japan after, and we didn't even kill 1 million people in those 2 instances. Okay, again, I'm simplifying this, but you get the point. So to me, I'm like, okay, he destroyed their warships beforehand. They said they brought every single warship to fight off the Titans. He destroyed those. The Atlantis sent a country that warship is bankrupt. Okay, you need money to power up the military. That's why the United States is so powerful, because she has a $700 billion military budget. No one else has. That's why we're more powerful than everyone else. They all were so desperate they brought their howitzers, which means that they were throwing everything at Titans, because they brought howitzers, towed artillery, for goodness sakes. They brought their soldiers in one consolidated place to stop the rumbling. Aaron killed all of them. He killed their pilots, and at the end we see he snagged the flight engineers. And as a modern person, I know that air power and air superiority is what determines a war, and that's why Zelensky was begging us for a no-fly zone, because air superiority is king. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, it looks like parity's in good position. If I'm a parity national, if I'm a Yeagerist, I'm like, well, we're in pretty prime position. We're in pretty good position. We have the flight mechanics. Everyone else is not thinking about war. They're thinking about feeding the family now, because we destroyed their agriculture, we destroyed their farmers, we destroyed their laborers, we destroyed the factories, we destroyed the factory workers. We destroyed their captains, their generals, their presidents. We destroyed the warships. Like, they can't build the military until they feed their people. It's going to be years and years before they can feed their people and even begin to even think about warfare. Meanwhile, Paradigm's already moving up. We're already in prime position to be uncovered to build the military. So that's why I think 80%. I think 80% is from my vantage point. Again, we don't know what exactly happened and how many people were killed in this country. Blah blah blah. My vantage point. Paradigm's in great shape. Now you're saying, well, Beluga, the 8 extra pages which again, the 8 extra pages were not extra. Those weren't extra anything. But that's another conversation. Look, the 8 extra pages proved that Aaron made the wrong decision. Okay, first off, that argument deserves literally zero attention. And here's why. Because not only do you not know who is fighting who, you don't know why they're fighting. So it was, people say that to me, I say, well, you simply don't know that. That's the end of the conversation. Goodbye. And I always, it always pisses them off. Oh, well, it could be, I could say, well, it could be civil war. No, you don't see a civil war totally annihilating people. Okay, cool. Do me a favor. Hop on a plane, go to Yemen, and then tell me how that went. Tell me how beautiful that country is. Because that country is just doing peachy. It's a civil war. Just peachy. No, that country is it's like the greatest humanitarian crisis right now. People are starving all over the place because of the civil war. Okay, so and again, I preach them all the time. Yeah, with all the wars we fought in, literally our civil war has killed the most people. 100 years ago, we fought wars with atomic weapons involved, and our civil war has killed the most people. In the 1800s, when it was much harder to kill mass amounts of people. Imagine a civil war between 2 civilized countries. Like, imagine if Russia got into civil war with itself, or China, or India. Like, imagine the utter devastation. Like, come on, it's insane. Like, oh, a civil war. And they're like, well, Beluga, do you think that it's possible for America to nuke itself? Do we think it's possible? We already invaded ourselves. We technically, is it possible? That's could you imagine someone from Kosovo being like, oh, well, could you imagine Serbia attacking us? Huh? Like, that's just dumb. Like, I hate to say this to you, but countries are social constructs. Countries are just because someone's in a country doesn't mean they can't attack each other. It's not like force bills saying, oh, you can kill this person, they're part of your country. No, any person can get killed by any other person. So to say that the civil war wouldn't be devastating and kill any people, I'm sorry, you're simply wrong. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing I'm taking into consideration. As I said previously, Eldia already went and tormented an entire continent. They already killed an entire continent. And in return for their sins, they got attacked by the Marlians. So if my theory is correct, then that the Eldians are the most powerful country in the world, and they do what powerful countries do, and they invade and oppress people, then what if the tables get turned and then they just simply return their sins onto them? Well, what does that have to do with the rumbling? That's nothing. It's been 100 years since there's rumbling. This is it's insane that you guys would think this way. It's crazy. And again, I want to know, what would an extra 20% have gotten them? What would an extra 20% have gotten them? And again, you can answer that whatever you want to, because there's a whole bunch of different things you can say. So I'm not gonna even anticipate counter argument. I'll talk to you in the comment section. And let's just say he did. Let's just say he did kill 100% of the people, right? The children are not out of the forest. That's the other thing. People keep saying, "Oh, well, Aaron killed 100% of the people. The children are out of the forest." No, they're not. No, they're not. That's nothing to do with anything. Children aren't out of the forest. People are still going to kill each other, and it's going to repeat all over again. And I says, and again, I says another debate. Don't you understand that it all came from one country? So again, what if the Eldians moved back to Africa, move back to Europe, move back to Australia, and then what? Then they're just not going to attack each other because they're all from Eldians? Are you kidding me? Like, they would 100% create their own provinces, create their own states and countries and whatnot, and they would go to war with each other just like other humans did. But Sanctif calls that infighting. Oh, it's just a little bit of infighting. Just nothing major. Just like the greatest war in Africa, which is the Congo War, which is a civil war. Just a little bit of infighting. And please go to the Congo and say, oh yeah, just a little bit of no big deal. Just a little bit of infighting. Oh yeah, Yugoslavia, no big deal. Just a little bit of infighting. Oh yeah, USSR, oh no big deal. Just a little bit of infighting. No need Taiwan and China to get angry at each other. Just a little bit of infighting. Come on, guys. Like, it was Russia, Ukraine also. That's what I said to them. Is Russia, Ukraine also infighting? Because they were one country. They were literally one the same country at one point. Is that just infighting too? Oh man. So that's why. That's why we gave us also an independent. I think that the lessons that were in 139 were great. I think they were very applicable. I think they were awesome. I think that loving a woman is amazing and it's great. I think every man should go and find a woman and marry her. I think that Aaron did what he needed to do for his country to keep it safe, regardless of what his intentions are. And that's that. And another thing. And before I go, another thing before I leave is the Yeagerists. The Yeagerists are usually mad about the ending because the people who pissed them off weren't punished to their liking. People are like, oh, Annie, she killed everyone in Parody, she still pretended she lived good, and old Gabby, and like, come on, bro. Like I said, I'm a family man, so I don't care what Annie. I think Annie did what she's supposed to do, in my opinion. So that's the thing. That's disagrees with me. So that's the last argument that disagrees with me. Annie was trying to protect herself and her father. What did you want her to do? What did you want her to do? She went, and so she protected her father over everyone else. Good for her. Let her do it. What? In my opinion, she didn't need to be punished for anything. And she didn't need to be punished. Eric's played that thing so many times. Gabby was adopted since she was a baby. They said that. They said they had them since they were infants. Marley did. So and she was and Aaron invaded her country and killed her friends. So why do I care what she did? Why does it matter to me whether she does it or not? Right? Like, she's doing what she's supposed to do. She's doing what she's supposed to do. I don't ill will towards them. Now again, in the moment, I was extremely angry with Armin. I called him a traitor. I still think he's kind of a traitor in some sense. I called him because of the traitor, called Hanji delusional, stupid, which again, in some sense they are. But even in my darkest moment, I was never angry at Gabby, because Gabby. How could you be angry at Gabby? I was more angry at Peak. You know why I was more angry at Peak? You know why I want Peak to be killed more than Gabby? Because Peak was more dangerous than Gabby. And I care about results. I want Parody to win. So Gabby dying would be awesome because she's a good shooter, but Peak dying would be better. So I want Peak to die. So while you were distracted looking at her butt and wanting her to be alive, and while you were crying your eyes out over Gabby, I wanted Gabby, Falco, and Peak to all be killed because it'd be good for Eldia. So I've been consistent that way, that's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, I hope that answers your question as to why me Yeagerist but also Independent. And to summarize, it's very simple. I believe the leader in charge of his country, he should prioritize his country over everybody else. He should be doing what's good for his country first. He's in charge of his country. He owes nothing to the rest of the world. He should be doing what's good for his country. From my perspective, from the ending, it looked as though Aaron did a really good job for his country. And as far as all these enemies who were let off scot-free, I don't care about those people, because those people they didn't have an effect on the outcome of Eldia's safety, and they were doing what they're supposed to do. So, in a quick way, that is why I like the ending a lot, and I'm a Yeagerist. Alright, thanks for the video suggestion, and I'll see you in the next video.